Welcome once again to the newest edition of Seahawkers What If, the most unique Seahawks preview show in the multiverse. I am your host, Clinton Bonner. Come on out and join me on Twitter at Clinton Bon. I am joined by the one, the only, the great Brandon Schultz, and find him out on Twitter at SeahawkersPod. And folks, if you don't know by now, you ought to know by now, this would not be Seahawkers What If without the protector himself of the multiverse, so we could traverse all the great possibilities. Mr. Phil, the protector. Boys, okay, I'm mentally turning the page. I'm still loving, I'm still flying a little high and buzzing.
It's hard to turn the page.
It is. It's hard to turn the page sometimes, especially after something that was so satisfying. I don't know, but such a satisfying victory. And with that, this is a preview show. So we must turn the page. But The nice part is page 2, we get to go play the 49ers, the Whiners, the Trey Lance led, quote unquote, 49ers. And oh, by the way, it might be raining once again. Brandon, how are you feeling going into week 2? Have you mentally turned the page?
You know what? I don't think I have, because I don't necessarily want to. And it's not just because of the win over the Broncos. It's also the Rams loss to the Chargers, the Niners loss to the Bears, and the Cardinals loss to the Chiefs. So I don't know if you could have put together a more perfect football weekend.
Yes, I agree. How about you, Mr. Phil?
We will talk about some of the challenge with turning the page, but that's what the show is about, is turning the page. And I went ahead, as maybe some of the rest of you did, and watched the Niners game. Of course, it was a soppy one. A few people have been requesting back where I do a quick run through on what I saw with the team we're going to face. And so I'm setting myself on a timer so I don't go too long, Clinton. And we'll start that in just a moment, but it'll be previously with the protector. We'll get an idea of what this team is that we're facing. Anything else before we jump into that?
Yes, one quick thing for the audience that's out there. Hey, if you're liking the content, first of all, subscribe wherever you get audio content. So all your major platforms, subscribe. And of course, YouTube. We just went over 2,000 subscribers out on YouTube. Pretty big milestone, and it's climbing daily. YouTube.com/Seahawkers podcast. You get the live reaction on Catfish shows. You get some of Adam's, just vignettes. Every one of the podcasts goes out there as well. It's a good time. So please get out there and support the Hawkra, grow the Hawkra with us.
Yes, support it. Now we're going to consider the team we're facing. I'm going to start the timer to make sure I don't go long here. Do it in less than a 2-minute warning. A very good team. And when you watch this roster, I would say they have talent, effort, and dumb. So it's a TED Talk for us. It's a team we usually beat. And yet when you watch them, they got a lot. They got a lot of talented players. If you look at defense, Kindle, Bosa, the pass rush started out really good in this game. The run D started good, had little trouble against the screen, but I'm sure they're not worried about that with us. The Winer special teams was awesome. It was awesome. Fields was dynamic running against them. Not sure the Bears could have done much else. If Fields hadn't got running, they wouldn't have ever got that offense off the ground. So that was key for them. The Winer D was legit unbreakable until dumb late hit, followed by an improv with Fields and Pettis. Coverage finally got a little bit looser after some of that. Then they had another dumb late hit that advanced Chicago. And boy, they have this safety. They have this safety. Hufanga, the dude is dynamic in the box. I guess he's a box safety. I heard on some other shows that he is. Man, he was ripping it up, making real trouble for the Bears. And then on offense, a lot of dumb offensive mistakes, dumb penalties. They had dumb on everything. I mean, the roster looked good in a lot of ways, even special teams. If it were not for, my clock's going off, so I got to go quick here. Kittle was missed. You could see that. Some protection was uneven. Deebo can run. He fumbled, had a nice touchdown run. Mitchell was good, but he got hurt. And then Wilson was meh at best. Their backup. Lance missed some easy throws. He's a very nice runner. And Lance had a couple of pretty throws when he was totally protected, but he takes too long to throw. So if you get at his feet, you move him. He was horrible. He threw a horrible game-losing pick in the fourth. So that's who we're looking at. You guys notice anything else when you watch the Niners? If you watched any of the game before we jump into our what if segment here?
I watched the game, and I think you gave a pretty good summary of everything I saw as well. A lot of rain in that game.
Lots of rain, and
some perfectly timed rain, actually, because when it came time for the 49ers to come back in the end, that's really when it started raining the most, and it was perfect.
Yes, it was. Out of everything you said there, Mr. Phil, the box safety. It's, we just lost Jamal for the year. That came out today. We know that. Yeah. Absolutely stinks. We wish him nothing but the best from a recovery standpoint. And the 49ers kind of have the guy we want. He does a lot of that same stuff. He's super disruptive. He's a great tackler. He causes a lot of disruption. So it's going to be interesting to see how they use him around the line of scrimmage, and can the rookie tackles, if there's stunts and ways in which that this safety's being brought down, what's it going to do? And that's something I'm sure we'll talk about in Traverse. But of the stuff, man, that's one that's sticking out for me early.
Yeah. Okay. So for this week's What If, as we consider our theme, we focus on a questionable player, and this show is all about questions, so that makes sense. But he has a cool name. Trey Lance. I would call him the Trident if I was them, because you think about 3 lances. Tridents are really cool. His name is cool. His game isn't quite so cool yet. So he's kind of like a trident that's not very sharp. So the theme is, what if their lance is dull? What if their lance is dull? The categories this week are not dull as dishwater, but here they are. We have a dull roar, dull the edge, and never a dull moment. And we will be starting off with Brandon. It's an odd numbered episode 29. What if our pass defense plays well enough against Santa Clara to keep Weiner fans uneasy during this game? When you think about a dull roar, not what we saw in Lumen on Monday, but we want to keep it a low, dull roar there. So what if our pass defense is good enough? Why might this happen? And you can take it from whatever angle you want when you're talking pass defense.
When it comes to the Seahawks pass defense against the Niners, discipline is going to be key, because so many times what we see with the Kyle Shanahan offense, he's able to scheme up these guys who, they go and they act like they're blocking, and then they pop out and they're outside in a wide open space. And that's what allows guys like Handsome Jimmy, Trey Lance to have success in hitting just dudes in wide open field, and then they get the huge yards after the catch. And so what the team's going to have to do is they have to be on the lookout for that. They have to stay and play to their spots on the defense. And that can be a little bit difficult too if you're Clint Hurt and also trying to be aggressive, because a lot of times you're leaving open those opportunities and giving those up for the sake of being aggressive. So it's going to be really important for the Seahawks defense to make sure that they account for all of those little tricks that Kyle Shanahan has up his sleeve in play calling.
How about you, Clinton? Why might we keep the fans sad with our pass defense?
Yeah, good stuff there, Brandon. I like it, because that's Shanahan does bring that. It's not so much trickery. It's almost like the nuance and the flavors of what he does. For me, it's gonna revolve around the fact that Deebo is gonna get a lot of handoffs, because they just lost their better. Elijah Mitchell is a good running back. You said it squarely. Wilson is okay. He's all right. He's fine. Maybe he could, like an inning eater in baseball. He's okay. So I expect Deebo to get more love in the backfield than he will as a wide receiver. So that squares things up for, like, if Kittle's not in, and I think Kittle missed practice. We record this on Thursday. If no Kittle and Deebo is really splitting time in the backfield, it's all about Ayuk. It's all about that dude. And at that point, is it Woolen again? Woolen showed up last game, and yes, he got burnt here or there a little bit, whatever, but kind of smothered Sutton. Sutton's supposed to come out and have this huge year with Russ, and not so fast. Woolen looked really good running downfield, very just the hips, the movement. I think Ayuk is a very good football player, and I think a lot of Seahawks fans do not give Brandon Ayuk the kind of credit I actually think he's deserving of. So man, let's see it. Let's see Woolen smothering Ayuk. And if they take away that dude, they don't got much else right now. They are very limited on offense. So it comes down to, man, taking away their best guy.
It's a great point. Yeah, the biggest concern is they run so much, like 2-1.
Yeah.
If we have constant in the box, and then they surprise us. So really good stuff, guys. All right, this side of dual roar. Really, if we're going to keep the fans to a dual roar, it's going to be more up to the offense, right? So how can the Hawks offense best keep Whiner fans out of the game? And can Mr. Shane Waldron actually do it for 2 halves? How about that, Clinton? What do you think? What do you got on this?
What I loved, and this is cool because Brandon, we didn't get to talk about this in 3 in 3 out. Waldron also showed some really cool things that almost worked, started to work a little bit. We're talking trip tight ends, right? Trip tight ends, just all 3 tight ends on the right-hand side. Pistol formation with 3 backs. We're bringing Kenneth Walker back. If we got Homer, Walker, and Penny, and it's not even like doing Niner things. But it's doing chaotic things where it's like, you don't know what's going to happen next. I feel that we could give the Niners a bit of their own medicine, especially if it's a bit of a sloppy track. And boy, oh boy, there was 1 or 2 times where Penny was cutting the ball back to the right. One, he had the 26-yard rumble and then the fumble, and Blythe is right there. The other one was the ticky-tack holding on Abe Lucas. I think he's going to break one of these, maybe not all the way, but just big runs where they have these oddball formations. So Phil, that's what I'm gravitating towards is these. We didn't see this at all last year. These are things we did not do. We bring out trip tight ends to the right, and then we're cutting back against that because Penny can do those things. I think we could give the Niners some shakes, man.
All right. How about you? They got a lot of good players on defense. What do you think? How can our offense best keep Whiner fans out of the game? And can Waldron do it for 2 halves, Brandon?
Well, doing it for 2 halves will be key, but I think the big thing is if we want to keep Whiner fans out of the game, they've got to get up 2 scores early because look, the way 49ers fans are looking at this game right now, there's the statistic of if a team goes 0-2, they generally miss the playoffs. But I know we're going to a 17-game schedule, so I think we're going to see a team eventually overcome that. But at the same time, they were not expected to lose to the Bears. They are favored by almost 10 points over the Seahawks this week. 49er fans are buying into the hype around their team. And if the Seahawks come in, the run game will be nice, Clinton. I want to see that. I think that's their best avenue to win. But if you want to shut up the crowd at Levi Stadium, you come out, throw into DK against their cornerback who came in this offseason that they're all hyped up about as this great corner who's, all right. But if Geno comes out, lighten him up with DK, Tyler Lockett, and, maybe some jet sweeps by D. Eskridge that allows him to show off his own Deebo Samuel-esque style runs with that kind of speed. Now, he's not Deebo, but, if you squint your eyes, maybe you can kind of see him in that role. And so if we see the Seahawks offense doing that in the first half, that's going to shut up the crowd.
Which corner is the most scary? Is it Mosley? Is it Al-Shair? Which one are they really excited about?
Ward's the one that they're most excited about. The one that they picked up from the Chiefs.
All right. Well, let's move to the next category then, gentlemen. Doling the edge. We've already been poking around at Deebo. We know he's such a huge part of this. What if minimizing Deebo is the key to edging out a win in this game? Can they actually run their offense without him? I mean, I don't even know if they can, but how can the Hawks keep Deebo from winning the edge against us? We probably need some improvement, but what do you see? How can we keep him from winning the edge? Because that's such a huge part of what they want to do, Brandon.
Yeah, you have to get that edge contained by your defensive ends. And I felt like they did that pretty well. And I think we'll probably see a lot less aggression from the linebackers in terms of sending them on quarterback blitzes. So I expect them to fill those gaps where, whether or not Deebo's taken, some of those inside zone plays, or, if they're dumping off little screen passes to him, I expect the linebackers to be hyper-focused on taking away Deebo as opposed to trying to.
You talking outside linebackers, or do you want to move?
No, I'm talking about
Barton
the inside, the true linebackers, Cody Barton and Jordan Brooks. Okay.
How about you, Clint? How do you see us taking away the edge, doling the edge from Deebo a little bit?
Yeah, I think it does. We talked about this particularly on 3 and 3 out, where Taylor took an out for me on his inability to set the edge and like kind of jumping inside and then getting washed out to the outside. And the thing with Deebo is he will take the ball wherever you give him a crease. And he's skilled enough to. Now, it's typically, from what I've seen, not between the guards, not usually between the guards. He likes to get out in space a little bit and then work, just use his speed and just get through something that's more towards the tackles. And of course, the 3-4 we're now playing. I think it's going to come down to, they're going to watch that film. And they were able to run the ball to the right side over and over and over again until later in the game. Seattle did improve against the Broncos. So I've got to see.
Do you think they improved, or Russell just overrid the running plays and kept throwing the ball? Because they ran against us the whole game. Do you think we stopped their run?
Yeah, I think it got better. I do. I do think it got.
Yeah.
Well, no, but even yes, and I think throughout the third quarter it was a little bit better as well. It was better than the first half. The first half was not good stopping the run defensively. So that's what it comes down to for me is can Taylor really, just improve where he's at, and then parlay that with, like I didn't think Brooks had one of those Brooksy games where would he have 12 tackles again?
Right. Led the team in tackles, but nothing
just to kind of
really
show you
flashy.
Tackles. Right. And not exactly didn't seem to be the most sound. He made a couple now. He made one great play on a screen where he had to go through 3 guys and still make a near tackle and slow the guy down. And with all that, I want to see the combination of Taylor with more discipline, doing his job better, and then the linebackers filling in behind that. Brandon, you talked about that on 3 and 3 out, because we got to get multiple people, multiple hats, and just slow Deebo down enough so a guy like Mike Jackson can bring his helmet. Because like a guy like Diggs could step up and come off screen, because Deebo he's not just this gadget guy that goes down easily. He's tough to bring down. He's extremely, extremely talented. He's a good ball player. So how do you stop him? You gang up on him, and they all got to do their part to be successful.
Yeah. So send Taylor a little bit of help. Don't just say Taylor be better, but the corners got to be involved. The safety's got to be involved. Inside backers have to be ready as well. Absolutely. Oh, on the other side of the ball, doling the edge, of course, we think about as we play this team. What if the Hawks players and coaches can take the edge out of Santa Clara's dynamic pass rush? How will they have accomplished this? And my personal note was, I felt like our tackles were awesome this last game. Even the plays where it looked like Chubb got by, all Geno had to do was step up because they held the way in front. Now, we do have to deal with Kinlaw, so maybe a little harder for Geno to step up. But your take on this, if we do take the edge out this Sunday, how will we have done that, Quentin?
So I was a little less bullish on Cross specifically because the stats are what they are, right? And even the first drive of the game, the first third down throw to Lockett, where Lockett just toasts his guy. Some great video. First of all, big clap and applause for the Seahawks, social media team and content team. Holy smokes, have they been just on fire? So
Definitely.
Thank you. Oh, so much fun. And they had the great slow motion video of Lockett beating his guy, just, his jocks over to the right side and Lockett sitting down for an easy first down. But even on that play, Cross is semi-beaten and a guy's on Geno pretty quickly. So what I would want to see, Geno he's pretty fluid out of the pocket. And he made a couple of things happen outside the pocket too. So why not do some of the misdirection, like fake the toss left, roll him right, do some naked boots. We saw a power sweep that Geno took on a third down. Get Geno outside the pocket, specifically going the opposite direction of Bosa. I know they got ballers across the field, but Bosa is a special, special player. Roll out right, get out of there. And we also saw use those levels concepts, right? So get them outside and then get those nice choices where you're attacking some of the parts of the Niners that are not exactly as strong. And then you're getting them to lock it and maybe even Goodwin into these zones that will open up. So that's what I'd like to see. Brandon, kind of going off of your point too. You're right. We do have to throw the ball to soften this thing up. We do. And we got to get out to a lead. This team, they showed it last week. Yes, the heavens opened up, and let's get Trey Lance behind the 8-ball and do it early. So that's what I like to see, Phil.
Yeah. And throwing, I heard we can go after Hufanga. Like some of their own fans said, he's awesome in the run game. He's awesome in the box, but maybe a tight end chips Bosa or something and goes out there into Hufanga's area and we just school that. I don't know. But how about you? How do we dole the edge against this dynamic pass rush? We know Bosa plays either side. What kind of plans you expecting or hoping for, Brandon?
Yeah, I do like the point that you made about using tight ends, because I feel like Will Dissly is a really good blocker, and you can see him have an impact in terms of whether or not it's just, whether or not he gives the chip, whether or not he stays in to protect Geno a little bit longer when they're trying to take those downfield shots. I like the idea of really trying to use a lot more tempo, though, and use some of those nice little timing plays that we saw dialed up against the Broncos to where Geno's just getting it out quickly.
Yes,
because
I like that.
However, the rookie tackles are playing in this game. If Geno's getting rid of the ball quickly, it doesn't really matter too much at how well they do or don't do at getting in front of their guys.
Great point.
Take the cutout by never getting touched by it. I like that. All right, next final category here. Never a dull moment. Never a dull moment. I wanted to ask this a bunch of different ways, and here's how we landed. After the huge matchup with the Donkeys, what if emotional letdown is a factor? What are some keys for the Hawks to stay sharp in this rivalry match after such a thrilling win just a few nights previous there on Monday night? Brandon, how can we stay sharp after such an emotional high? Are you concerned about the young guys?
I understand that this is a concern among fans because it was such an emotional moment, and we're still feeling the emotion all these days after. And I suspect to a point there's still some players that are feeling that way too. But this is where head coach Pete Carroll comes in and has a pretty decent impact on this team, because I don't think that this is one of those games where you would allow yourself to come down emotionally, because one, it's your first game against a division rival. It's in their home stadium. It's on the road, and it's going to be their opening weekend at their home stadium. So it would surprise me if emotions is what really brought this team back. I think it would end up being things like execution and that sort of thing, to where we would see those issues play out. I don't know. I feel like, though, if there is any type of blowout loss, maybe we will point to the emotional come down factor. I don't see that being an impact because of our coach and the way he always shows up against the Niners.
Sure. I see your 2 points. We're already on emotional high. Let's just stay there. Don't try to come down. The other point is it's going to be real football stuff. How much does emotion really play in a game like football anyway? That's kind of what I took from you. What do you think, Clinton? Are you at all concerned about this? And if you are, how do we overcome it? Or maybe you just poo-poo this whole thing? Hey, we're not worried about
I think there's so, the point that it's a Pete Carroll coach team is the base for he will get his boys ready to play. I think that's a given. But the thing that I think will mitigate or help make sure that we don't have this emotional letdown is playing clean from a penalty perspective. The 49ers had 12 penalties for 99 yards versus the Bears. The Broncos had quite a number of penalties versus us. We had our fair share, but the Broncos had more, and frankly should have had 2 to 3 more egregious holds. But now we got to go into, I would say, it's not like Santa Clara is that loud. It's fine. Are the 49ers fans really all that fired up to come out in the rain and watch Trey Lance? I don't know. I'm not sure they are. We'll see. But the false starts, the holdings, that make it second and 15, where you're about to cross your own 40, and now you're back at your 25. They are what really, really destroy momentum within a game. And you can see things kind of just erode mentally really quickly. At the very least, staying clean out of the first quarter That would be huge, because that would probably mean on the other side of the equation that we put some drives together with points. And that'd be a nice way to just maintain what we got going right now.
I just think that there's so much more emotion on the side of the 49ers to perform well in this game, with the pressure of, gosh, if you don't give Trey any help in this game, are they going to be looking to Jimmy? Because I've heard even in the national media them talking about, man, with the team that the Niners have, if you lose this week, do you go to Jimmy next week because they're playing the Broncos? And then after that, it's the Rams. And so if they start out 0-2, there's a whole lot of pressure again that's weighing down on this team.
Great point.
And I don't think that pressure is there for Seattle, because they're not expected to do anything.
Uncertainty, right? A little concern. Yeah. A sub point I had is how can the Hawks and both these teams, how can we keep this rivalry exciting? I hope we can. All the new players and everything. Do you guys have any thoughts about that? I mean, the Niners-Seahawks rivalry needs to stay great. Did you have any thoughts on keeping that up, Brandon?
I mean, it would probably help the rivalry if they beat us, I don't know, once in a while.
Just not Sunday.
Just not this week.
Once in a while, but like a while later.
Yeah, like once.
We don't want them to.
No.
But that's what it would take. They'd have to finally beat us like here and there.
Yeah.
I got a take for you there, Phil. So we have a crop of new players. Yeah. This is next gen youth movement, right? So
absolutely.
We saw, like, thinking about the moments that made the 2012, 2013, 2014 run. What do you got? You got Sidney Rice versus the Patriots, right? You got Richard Sherman, you mad bro after the game. You've got, Michael Bennett with the sack fumble interception against Drew Brees, like these mega moments where the dudes, obviously Cam Chancellor taking souls across the field with Vernon Davis. So how about somebody on the team that's of the younger, year one, year two guy, just having one of those moments, and everybody's already hearkening back to, wow, we got the vibes. We got 2011, 2012. This could be something. That's starting to percolate. That would feed it and just enhance the rivalry that much more.
I like
Tough
it.
to beat the Last Supper turkey leg that we had there on their field, type of thing.
If if we're going to see that, though, I put that one. There's guys on the defense that could do that, but the guy who I would want to see it most from is DK Metcalf. We saw a lot of quick throws to DK. And if, they're sending Fred Warner over his way or Ward his way, and he can just do that stiff arm that he does and plants a dude in the ground, and then we see him run for a touchdown.
Onto the ball.
He's got to hold on to the football.
True.
But if you see one of those plays where he just gets the guy down in the dirt, I think that could help, fuel that rivalry among the new guys.
Just make sure there's only one defender there if you do that next time, DK. Don't try it when there's multiple defenders. Right. And what if the traveling Hawk fans got a little Geno chant going in the game? That could be helpful.
That'd be awesome.
Okay, next question on a dual moment. Last question. What if this very young team can keep improving? Where do you hope to see the Hawks' young players become especially sharper, Clinton, from game to game? This might be something that'll show up at different times on What If throughout the season, but where do you want to see the young players get especially sharper, Clinton?
Wow, this is great. The reason it's great is because the team is so young, you could literally go pretty much anywhere and talk about them. So let me pick a spot. Where I thought where I'd want us to show the most improvement in this game, which will bode well for the rest of the season, is in the run blocking. Our pass blocking was pretty good. Austin Blythe ended up with like 100% pass blocking. His run blocking was, and that might be what he is, and that's okay. But as a unit, it looks like Damian Lewis is coming back, right? Like he was a full participant yesterday. So if he's coming back in for Beefy Boy Haynes, which I expect, or maybe Haynes slides over and Gabe Jackson's out, we'll see. I want to see end of 2021, run blocking. And if that shows up, I've got the hankering and I got the fever, and I want more cowbell, and I want more Penny. I just get the feeling Penny's going to break one or two big runs. And that all starts with that interior line doing what they're supposed to do. So he gets a cutback lane, and he's pretty darn special when he does get that chance. So that's it, man. It's like that offensive line across the board is still pretty young, especially if Haynes is in there as one of the guards too. Let's see that run blocking. I'm not expecting them to be, Walter Jones era, Seahawks. Let's see them just progress to maybe some of the Lynch years where we would just, we could own teams that way. Because, hey, Brandon, we get out to a nice lead and we throw the ball early, and then we grind them down late, which we really didn't do against the Broncos. Then we're putting two halves together like you asked about earlier, Phil. And that is what I want to see, man. That's complete.
Awesome. So Clinton's got out his electric pencil sharpener. He wants to put it on the trident of the blockers on either side for sharpness, sharpen those big butts. How about you, Brandon? Where do you want to see our young guys become especially sharper this week?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to go back to something Clinton said. I don't know why he's trying to move Phil Haynes over to the right side with Gabe Jackson. Now, maybe it's because Gabe Jackson sat out of practice for a day. It was just veteran rest. So I don't think there's any injury concerns that we have to worry about with regard to Gabe Jackson. Who, by the way, had, I think, a 100% pass block win rate in this game against the Broncos.
Yes.
And I know you were talking about in the run game, but still, I think I want Gabe Jackson in there on the right side. I think I'm going to stay on the offensive line, though, and go to the tackles and say, if there's something that I do want to see improve, it would just be even more improvement from the tackles, because it's going to be a test for them against this 49ers pass rush. And this is the kind of game where, gosh, if you get out of this game and you can say, yeah, you went up against Nick Bosa and he's moving all over the line, and these two tackles are keeping Geno Smith clean, and he's throwing the ball downfield. That could go a long way toward putting a lot of confidence on these young tackles for the rest of the season.
Very nice. Hey, I wanted to jump into something was striking me during the game. It was actually when Lucas was hit up for that ticky-tacky holding call, and they kind of zoomed in on his face walking back to the huddle, and he kind of gave like a little wry, like, okay, little smirk. Super confident dude. Do you guys get any particular vibes of like what type of, like, he reminds me of a very, very good offensive lineman that was a pain in our tuchus for a long time. You guys have any indication where I'm going with that?
Maybe you're going to a wrestler and like reminding you of The Rock.
Yeah, he had the eyebrow thing going, right, for sure. I know it's going to be difficult to guess, but he to me gives off some Andrew Whitworth type vibes. Like just supremely confident in how he's
confidence.
Yeah, just
confidence,
menacing, towering confidence. And if I start to get that kind of feel that dude can be somewhat like an Andrew Whitworth career, I mean, holy Hannah, sign me up and then some, right? So anyway, it was hitting me this week. I thought I'd share it with you guys.
We see why Rob Staten did the giant fist bump when we drafted him already, just in a game. Love him. All right, prediction time. I have one little addition to the prediction time. I also have to say last week, pretty good overall predictions. We predicted a win. Clinton nailed it, right, to the score. He said 21-20. And it was 17-16, right team, right differential. Nicely done. Also, when we had that, throw it out there, how are we going to see the Let's Ride curse? I mean, to me, it's obvious that Russell struggles on the goal line, and he's the whole reason the whole thing blew up. And so now his curse has affected him. Every time he plays the Seahawks, he's going to fail at the goal line. I could see that. But Clinton nailed it. He said fumble luck, and our fumble luck was pretty solid fumble luck during that game. But as we do our predictions, good job, Clinton. I want to add something. The what if Super Hawk. I'll call it the wish. The what if Super Hawk. So you're going to...
I like that.
Every multiverse needs a superhero, right? Every multiverse needs a superhero. So your what if Super Hawk for this week and your score. Brandon has to go first, and I'm going to type in the score and his what if Super Hawk. And this is somebody that's going to do something super this week. And what do you pick for the score, Brandon?
For the score, I think this is going to be another low-scoring game. As much as I want the offense to get out to an early lead and do it through the passing game. My expectations of that happening are somewhat low. But I do think that this team can come out with a win. And much like how I predicted Quandre Diggs to have a big interception last week, I think the fact that he had one slip through his fingers in the end zone and just have it be so public of that particular drop and what it could have, just how that could have impacted the game.
You gave him the commentator's curse.
You gave him I gave him the commentator's curse, but he's going to come back from that this week.
Yes.
And he is going to, he's just going to bait Trey Lance into an easy interception. He's going to make up for it. Okay. I think where the problem is that I gave him a pick 6. And so I'm not going to, I think that's what cursed it. So no pick 6, but he is going to have a key interception that makes him our superhero.
And did you say the score?
17-13
Seattle. All right. And how about you?
All right, I love the wish, love it. So great addition. I love additions, especially when they're good. I'll go with the wish first because this is fun. I am going to say that after being held 2, 3, 4 times, that should have been that he had great chances at sacks last week. Darrell Taylor gets off the early schneid here and records at least 1.5 sacks. He has a big game. Whether now again, you got Trent Williams on one side and you got with McGlinchey, right? McGlinchey, right?
Right.
How do you say his name? McGlinchey, right? I'm saying it correctly. Okay. So
he's a good pass protector, not as good in the run game.
He can be, but he got, again, it's going to be a wet track out there, and his mutter was a mutter. We'll see, right? Williams, I'm not too sure you're going to get much against him, but I think Taylor breaks through for at least 1.5, maybe gets a strip sack in there. That's the extra bonus. So he's my wish. All right. Seahawks win this game 19-17. Not as many touchdowns as we'd like. Jason Myers has a day, 4 field goals, 1 touchdown for Rashad Penny. And the Seahawks come away with a 19-7 victory, and we're cruising at 2-0. And the league is going, what happened here? Well, who are these people?
I like it. So you're both picking us to win. Brandon's picking us by 4. Clinton's picking us by 2. And the Super Hawk Diggs or Taylor. I like either one of them. No doubt it would have been Nwosu last week. If anybody picked him, that would have been the absolute Super Hawk. What if we say go Hawks?
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.